Well, hey everybody, welcome to Photography Schoolhouse. And tonight, part two of the Start Your Valentine Boudoir Business for 2017. If you did miss part one before we get into this material, if you're on our landing page, which is pshtoday.com, that's the official landing page for this webinar. It has both the broadcast and the chat window in it. So you can go there and you'll also find a link to part one of this presentation. This is a three-part webinar combined with the three-part live broadcast from the studio. So more on that later. Let's get on with tonight. Tonight, what we want to talk about is marketing. And just in case you don't know, that's me, the old guy. Okay, so a couple of reminders from last week. This series makes the assumption that you're just starting into the boudoir business. You might already have a boudoir business started, and this might help you along. Or if you're absolutely cold to it and it's just something you think you want to do or need to do, then that's kind of the assumption that we've made, is that you're starting out. So in part one, we talked about kind of the overview of what we can do. Now, it's one thing to have a plan. The other thing is to get the most important part of that plan in action, and that's getting customers. Now, marketing in photography is a much broader subject than we can get into here. I'm going to stick pretty much to boudoir, and I'm going to give you the background of how we tested the information that we're about to present to you. 2 years ago, well, let me back up a little bit. I really don't like all the information that's out there today. We see all of these exaggerated claims, buy my $400 course and you'll be making six figures in 39 minutes or something. I've actually bought into some of those just because I wanted to see what they were doing, and what the hell, if I can earn a lot of money, I'm all for learning too. And it never really works out the way that they say. So one of the things in Photography Schoolhouse that I've always tried to do is to present realistic information, which means it's not fair for me to make exaggerated claims. All I'm claiming here is that we can start a boudoir business and you can start making some money. I don't think it's going to be six figures right off the bat, not by Valentine's Day at least. But to prove that, what is the benchmark that I could go with? Well, I went into a town where I did not have a photography business at all. As you know, I'm normally based out of Phoenix, Arizona, or Scottsdale, actually. But I went to a different area for family reasons. But aside from that, I'd never had a studio there. So I opened one up. That was going to be my benchmark. And I tested and measured every single thing I did. Real facts, real results, not exaggerated claims. And partially to both prove to myself that in today's tough photography world, that yes, you can still start a photography business and you can still make money at it. As it's turned out, this is 2 years later, I'm still doing the same boudoir business, and it has grown quite nicely. In fact, we're running some Valentine specials right now, and the bookings are coming in. So that's kind of the background to the information that we're going to present, because marketing today is not only so important, but it's so different from what we would have done just a few years ago. So in part one, we talked about simple sets, where you can shoot. What can you use as a studio? It's very unlikely if you're just starting out that you have a studio. So we talked about shooting in your home. We talked about renting hotel rooms to hold boudoir marathons. I'll talk more about that later today. And the lighting, available light, studio flash, and so on. As I said already, we're going to talk about marketing tonight. And as we move into the live studio broadcast portion of this series, we're going to be getting more into posing and things of this nature. In part three of the webinar, We're going to get more into selling and what products boudoir customers want to buy and what their expectations are and so on. So this was the schedule. January 5th last week was part 1. Today we're doing the January 12th part 2. Next week, same time, same station, January 19th, developing a shooting style, posing, and product design. The 3 live studio broadcasts. So there are 6 parts to this in total, 3 webinars and 3 live studio broadcasts. We were supposed to start the live studio broadcast this week, 2 days ago. We had bad weather in this area and we couldn't do it. So the first one's going to be January the 17th. And please note a different start time. They start at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then part 2 on the 24th, part 3 on the 31st. So live studio broadcasts are at 7 p.m. Eastern, webinars are at 9 p.m. Eastern, and there's 100 reasons why we do it like that. It's not important right now. So selling boudoir today, a couple of basic principles of photography in general, or actually it's probably more than photography. It's probably every single business in the world today. People will only pay for work that they can't easily do themselves, especially with today's cell phones. I'm an iPhone user, not that I'm promoting that brand. Androids are just as good. I just happened to start with iPhone and I've stayed with it ever since. I just got the iPhone 6S Plus, and of course the iPhone 7 came out. I was stunned at the quality of the pictures on the iPhone 6S Plus, and from what I'm hearing, the iPhone 7 Plus is unbelievable. So, I mean, this is our competition today. It's not another working professional photographer or somebody that's entering. It's that people can do it themselves. I don't care about the competition, and I can get into the philosophy of that too in a minute. But first of all, we have to motivate people to spend money on having us do something that they could do themselves. Now, last week I told a story, and if you weren't here last week, I'll just repeat it quickly here. I had recently talked to somebody, a lady that I had done her boudoir over a year ago, and she decided she wanted to get into photography and approached me about becoming an assistant at the studio. She said, "I'll work for free. I just want to learn." And I always kind of respect that kind of enthusiasm. And she told me the story of her girlfriend who went to a photographer who did some nice boudoir pictures, and together they thought they were pretty awesome. But the girlfriend, although she had a good camera and whatnot, the pictures were okay. They weren't spectacular. And when our girl brought her pictures home to show everybody, they suddenly realized the difference between going to a professional studio and just going to somebody that owns a camera. There's a huge difference. And up until that point, they had thought that the other work was really good. So this is what we have to do. This is what we've got to overcome. We've got to produce work that exceeds their expectations, exceeds their abilities. And they won't even know that. They'll see some inadequate work and they'll think it's okay, but it's not once they see what is up. So part of our job is to deliver the message about what we can do for them. The other thing, I really do believe in branding. I didn't always. My name's Kerry Allen, and for the first part of my photography career, I just called myself Allen Studios or Kerry Allen Photography. It didn't really matter. I didn't think branding was a thing. I've changed my mind on that. I decided when I started this test boudoir studio, I found that the name sizzle.photography was available for registration. Okay, sorry, I'm just pausing. Guest 136, if you can hear me. This is not a recap. Unless you clicked on the wrong screen, remember there's 2 links. The one link was for tonight's broadcast. The other was a link to last week's broadcast. So guest 136, you might just check to make sure that you hit on the right link. Anyways, this is the right presentation, although I'm kind of touching on last week's material a little bit. So getting back to branding, this name was available. I liked the relationship, the word sizzle in relationship to boudoir photography, because it's kind of hot. And it's allowed us to do all sorts of, creative things with naming. So we have our sessions. We have 3 different kinds of sessions: sizzleicious, subtle sizzle, sexy sizzle. If we do deliver digital images, and we'll talk about that next week, we deliver them on a sizzle stick. I really do believe now that having a uniquely identifiable brand really helps deliver your message. You can't have sizzle, not photography. I already grabbed that. So is social marketing king of the world today? You better believe it. Sort of, I say, with reservations. It's not the only thing you do, but it is perhaps the main thing that you do. And I'm saying nothing new here. I'm sure you already know that. And for the most part, those who are doing photography already have some sort of social presence, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or whatever, Twitter even. I'm sure that you're doing something, but social marketing is kind of a broader concept. So number 1, we're going to look at social marketing. Number 2, of course, the best of all is word of mouth. When one customer tells another customer how great their experience was, you can't buy that. That's just what you have to accomplish. So both doing really substantially good photography, delivering on time, exceeding their expectations, not making them wait forever to see their album or anything like that. And if there's something wrong, you fix it right away, and you give them a great studio experience. They got to leave the studio feeling like $1 million. If you're able to accomplish all of that, then you're going to get word of mouth advertising. It's going to take some time, that's all. But keeping in touch with people, I think, is number 1. Customer relationship management, CRM. Whatever you use, email or whatever, some people do snail mail, newsletters, whatever. Keeping in touch with your customers is so important. But again, that works fine when you have some customers to keep in touch with. If you're starting new, well, you don't have that. So other kinds of marketing that you can do: Groupon and Living Social, 2 sales agencies that I've tried with some limited success. Groupon didn't really work because generally their price points are pretty low, and it's hard to squeeze a boudoir session with hair and makeup into the price points that Groupon is known for. Living Social seems to be a little bit better than that. They can accept, and their customers seem to be fine with a higher price point. And when we do things like that, we usually wind up making it a loss later. What we get after these agencies take their commission is barely enough to cover the expense of the makeup artist, and gives me nothing for my time and I use an assistant. So that's just out of pocket. So it's not only that I don't make money on these sessions, I actually lose money on the sitting. Now, of course, if you do a good job, they're going to buy more. And that's kind of the game you have to play. But the only way you're going to get them to buy more is by having a good quality product. So it always goes back to that. Free session giveaways. If you're new, this is a good way to A, get new samples, B, gain experience, and start getting some word of mouth advertising going on. But make it known that you're doing something for free for them, so that they don't go to all their friends and say, hey, Joe Blow is doing free sessions. Phone him up right now while he's still doing it. You don't want that. You want them to understand that they got a special, but their friends are not going to get that. Their friends are going to pay the regular price. Affiliate marketing with other stores in your neighborhood, other businesses that you might be associated with. This is great. Because it's boudoir, obviously you might lean towards, lingerie shops or ladies' wear shops or things of that nature. And stay away from the major chains because they're all corporately controlled, and you approach them about an in-store display or something and you're getting nowhere. You'll spend forever and wind up with nothing. Find a locally owned ladies' wear shop, locally owned lingerie, specialty bra places, things of that nature, and you can approach them about affiliate marketing. But obviously, I've always believed that the next best thing to word of mouth advertising is being able to look the customer in the eye and talk to them. Social marketing be damned. Facebook, none of that will reach the power of a conversation eyeball to eyeball. So you want to do this with displays at, I say women's groups, but I'm really talking about anywhere that women are attracted to. Bridal shows. I'm attending 2 this spring. Gift shows. There are some communities hold specifically women's shows. These are all areas where it'll cost you some money. These things aren't usually free, but they're worth their weight in gold. Second only to word of mouth advertising. You may think about cost per click advertising either through Google or Facebook. You really have to be careful with this. As I say in the slide, it can eat you alive if you're not really careful. But done properly, and I'm going to get into what I consider to be properly, it does help you reach a new audience and help you target exactly the right people for exactly the amount of money that you can afford to spend. Even if it's $10 or $20, you're going to stay within budget and you're going to get some results out of it. So we're going to talk about getting the message out. We're going to talk about lead magnets coming up in a couple of slides. So paid advertising on Facebook. Cost per click on Google I don't do for the boudoir business, but I do on Facebook. And so this was an ad we started 2 years ago, an early ad that we did. Facebook has some rules about paid advertising, and that is that you have to have less than 25% text in the image. So you see how the text is very minimal and it's all up in one corner, so that when Facebook looks at this, and they look and review every single ad, not just for boudoir photographers, for every advertiser, and it has to be approved by an actual human being. So they look at the amount of text in the ad. More than 25% is a no-no. I've actually had it slip through where they've accepted more than 25%, and then 2 days later they come back and say, whoops, you're over the 25%, and they take it back down again. The other thing is the amount of skin content. A picture like this is about as far as you can push it in advertising. Now, Facebook's kind of a double-edged sword because you can put amazing stuff, practically naked, on a Facebook post, and they don't do anything about it. But if you're taking out an ad, they don't like to see too much skin. So you really have to. I've had ads rejected because they said they were too revealing, and really they weren't revealing very much. So just some warnings about Facebook advertising and planning your campaigns. So let's talk about our Facebook ad then and targeting. Obviously, what we want is to target a local geographic area. There's no sense for us to find somebody from Timbuktu. They're not going to travel to our area and have a boudoir session. I put the age group as 18 to 65. We have had boudoir clients as old as 67 years old. That's not the norm, obviously. I just did one a few days ago that was 60 or 61. But most of them are in the kind of 25 to 45 age bracket. That's kind of our sweet spot. So you can adjust the age range wherever you want. The trouble with the younger crowd is they usually lack the money to have significant purchases. So they're the ones that will, order one 5x7 or something like that, because that's honestly all they can afford. And they're the ones that will ask you for a disc of, a whole CD of every single image. So the sweet spot, I think, is 25 to 45. Female, duh. I have tried advertising, Facebook advertising to males with theme of, buy your woman a boudoir session, and I put it nicer than that. Didn't work. It does happen. We do get guys who buy gifts, but as a campaign, it was a total waste of time. So I don't bother with that anymore. So mobile placement, absolutely important. Third-party apps or news feed, as well as desktops, you're fully covered, because as I'm sure you know, 40, 50 to 60% of all viewers on the internet today are on a mobile device. I started out very, very easily, $20 at a time, 4-day campaign, $5 a day. And in my particular area, that wound up reaching about 1,400, between 1,400 and 3,700 people. But more on this. Here's the actual results. If you look at this slide for a little bit, you can see where we started. January 7th is when we launched the campaign. And the graph is showing the number of people that clicked through to the website, not the number of people who saw the ad, but who clicked on the link and went to the website to investigate further. So that's the information we're looking at here. So you can see that on the first day, on the 8th, we had like 6 people click through, and then 4, maybe, whatever. So that campaign cost me $22.48. And I got a number of people clicking through to the website. Now, some people will still buy even though they've never been to the website. So clicks through to the website are not everything that matters. But it's a big part, because if they're interested enough to click through to your website, obviously, that's a good thing. So as you can see from this graph, a total of 35 people clicked through to the website. That's 35 active leads. 35 people who said, yeah, I'd like to know more. And it's our job for the website to reel those leads in. We gotta hook them on the website and get them, turn them into buyers. So what about the age group? So here we did a campaign that was 18 to 65. You can see that a lot of people, 18 to 24 was the biggest single group, 1,600 people. But remember what I said about the younger side of the market. They're the people who don't buy. So in a way, if you think about it, I'm spending money on advertising to people that aren't going to buy. It doesn't matter that I reached a lot of people. Reaching a lot of people that don't want to buy does me no good at all. So the 25 to 34, 35 to 44 group, even the 45 to 54 group isn't such a bad group. But you can see where the sweet spot is. And 55 to 64, still a lot of people click on it. Yeah, you might get the occasional customer, but really, again, you're paying for money to reach a lot of people that aren't likely to buy. Some will, but it's a numbers game here, and I don't think the numbers support it. So looking at a chart like that and thinking this through, what I'd really like to do is my next campaign, maybe I'll make it 35 to 55. So I get more of the people I want for my advertising dollar. Now, the other interesting fact here, look at the placement. Desktop news feed was only 121. Mobile news feed, almost 3,000. Desktop right column, 1,200, which was much better than just the news feed. So don't think that the news feed for the desktop is what you're trying for. You're actually really trying for that mobile news feed. This is website clicks. So out of all those 35 people that clicked through to my website, 14 of them were 18 to 24. In other words, the people who will not spend money with me. So kind of think of it as money wasted. Yeah, you got activity and you probably feel good, you know, hey, look at all the people hitting my website. But that's like saying, hey, look at all the people coming to my business that won't spend money. Okay, that's a breakdown by gender. Obviously, women were what we were targeting here. So now, as I mentioned, this was a brand new business that we just started to conduct these tests. And here to prove it is the Google Analytics of the website, sizzle.photography. And you can see this flat line going all the way up to basically January the 1st, which was our start date. And so you can see there was no business before this. It started, our test started on January 1st, and you can see around the 6th and 7th and 8th how the advertising started to kick in with activity. So where did these people come from according to Google Analytics? Social was number 1. Direct, number 2, is the what they mean by that is people who typed sizzle.photography into their browser as opposed to finding it or being referred from Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Referrals from other sites, and then organic search is the lowest. So people did find the site through just going into Google and typing boudoir photographer, but you know, obviously it wasn't a very big thing. And you can't rely just on website clicks from organic searches. You have to do all of these other things. Okay, this isn't important. It's a repeat of the same information. So let's talk about how we refine this target group. Because this was a new business, I had no likes in my community on the page. I started to, you know, we were getting them one at a time. In the first year, we wound up with just under 1,000 likes. It was like 950 likes by the end of the year. But when we started on January 1st, we had 0. So we've got nobody that knows us. How are we going to get out to the community? So I need to reach total strangers, cold calls. So obviously, we've defined my target market, 25 to 55, my geographical area, and women, not men. Okay, well, that's not bad. So I could take that, and that's what I did. I just took that and started running ads. I refined the ads over time. You saw the results of the first ads I just showed you. They were much broader scope. They were a much larger age range. But as I proceeded, I made that a narrower and narrower age range. Now, if you've got another site that you can refer to that has the exact nature of the people that you were trying to reach, you could clone their audience and have Facebook design a what they call a lookalike audience for you. But again, if we're just starting in this business or we haven't built this kind of a market to clone, well, then it's kind of a moot point. But in some cases, this could work out for you. You could also look at email lists of existing customers or leads. If you aren't brand new to the business and you've started to build that up, you can import those email leads into Facebook and use them as part of your campaign. So you not only can email them directly, but when they're doing their Facebooking, then they also see your ad as well. It's double reinforcement. So not a bad thing at all. So over time, I wanted to refine that group even more. And because not everybody is interested in boudoir photography. So how do we get likes if we're really new? I mean, we can invite some friends, sure. There's one rule about Facebook advertising on a page. Now, you know, Facebook has pages and groups. So I'm referring to their policies in regards to your business page, not your personal site, business page, and not a group. You can invite people to be fans, but you can't target them in an ad. You can't target your friends. I can't say, okay, I'm going to take out an ad. I'm going to spend 25 bucks and just advertise to my friends. Yeah, you can't do that. Besides which, why would you? You could talk to your friends anyways, send them a message or whatever. So we want to find some new people that are going to like us. So we start by inviting your friends that you think are likely to, if you got a 85-year-old grandpa, he probably doesn't really care that much. But invite the appropriate friends, I guess you could say. And then what I do is I look for other ways of driving people to my Facebook page. So if I have a website, I put a link to my Facebook page, my emails, my blog posts, everything has a link to my Facebook page. So we're taking and refining people who are already interested in my services and trying to garner them as likes. So we start building this up as best as we can, any way that you can. Do not, and this should be self-evident, do not buy likes, not even from Facebook. Absolutely the wrong thing to do. It will backfire and hurt you far more than it'll help you. You have to build likes organically. It takes a little bit longer, but the quality of leads far exceeds the work that you put into it. So I also, the next slide I think does this. I started, you know how young ladies, mostly, young men too, young ladies like to take selfies and put them on Facebook. So I started holding a selfie contest. I started doing it. This one happened to be the way I worded it for October of that first year, but I would have actually done it much, much earlier, practically right from the very beginning. So a selfie contest where they could win a free Sizzlicious boudoir session. And it was huge. It was absolutely huge. It drove people just amazingly, or didn't drive, but brought people to the site in a tremendous way. Because what they do, somebody who likes to do a selfie will go on, post their selfie, and then they'll message all of their friends to go to the site or go to the page and like them. So for each and every person who posts a selfie, they'll probably bring in 20 or 30 other people to your page. And so what you do is notice the line towards the bottom of the slide, like our Sizzle photography page for free bonuses at the end of each month. So we got all these people coming in. We give them incentive to like our page. And that worked amazingly well in building our target audience of likes. Now, a couple of things on this point. I don't just try and build the quantity of likes for the sake of doing that. I qualify each and every person who liked my page. I check them out. In Facebook, the interface, you can go and click on every single person who liked your page, and you can find out, number one, are they from my area, or did they just stumble on me from Timbuktu? Are they the right age group? Is it just some guy that found my Facebook page and he liked pictures of pretty girls, so he liked the page so we could see more? Those people are gone immediately. I delete them. So I'm not worried about achieving the biggest number of likes. I'm more worried about the quality of likes. So if they're in my geographic area, if they're in my target age group, then they can stay as a like. And that is so important for the very first for the very next reason, or for your ads, your Facebook ads, because once you've got likes, and I say at the bottom of the slide, we had no fans or likes in the beginning, and towards the end of the year, we had 953. 953 quality likes. God only knows how many I deleted. And this is very, very important. Now, one of the things you can do in Facebook advertising is you can, pardon me, stuffing up here, you can target your audience can be people who like my page, or people who like my friend, people who like my page and friends of people who like my page. So now you can refine your Facebook advertising to specifically that 953 people that are targeted, guaranteed potential customers. You don't get much better than that. Now, I also, in the beginning, to kind of jumpstart this, I promoted the selfie contest by finding other groups in my geographical area. So there were some modeling groups, and there were some, obviously, ladies groups. And I would cross-post the promo contest into these groups, bring those people over, and that's how it was built in the early days. I ran the contest every month. One girl wins. Yes, you have to do a free session, and they only get a certain amount of product. Like it was 1 8x10, 2 5x7s, and a digi from one pose. That's all that's included with the session. Everything else they have to buy. And this is where you soon learn that the 18 to 24 group doesn't buy. They take the freebie, and that's all you see of them. And the people who do buy are, compensate for the people that don't in the beginning. And it's a bit of a gamble. You will lose some, but on the overall, you'll win. And you're building a clientele, and you're building a sample portfolio, and so on. So what does everybody else win? So each and every person, I was usually anywhere on a low end of 50 to 60, the high end around 90 to 100 contestants who would enter the contest. The other remaining non-winners all win a free headshot with an 8x10 digi. Or I changed that. I did that for a few months, and then it became a family portrait after that. Everybody wins. And I have some nice certificates, electronic. I didn't mail them things, but I sent them right into their Facebook message window. I sent them a certificate for this free headshot or the family portrait. Doesn't bring in a lot. In fact, doesn't bring in very much at all, but it does bring in some. And you know what? Those people do buy. You do a good job like anything else, and you pick up a $200 here, a $150 order there, and 3 or a 5. We've had, some nice orders too. It's all good cash flow, and it's all people in the door when you're starting your business. That's exactly what you want. So as I said, I research my fans. Every time somebody likes my page, I find out who they are, find out as much as I can about them. So I actually talked about this before I got to the slide, so I'm moving on. Paid Facebook advertising. People bemoan the days of saying, oh, Facebook isn't as good as it used to be. You don't reach the people. So what? In fact, that's good. I'm glad that everybody's mad at Facebook, because it's more for me. We're in business, and businesses have to advertise, and that means spending some money, not a lot. In fact, Facebook advertising is the cheapest advertising I've ever done in my life. Even in the old days, when Yellow Pages was a thing, I had to have an ad in the Yellow Pages like every other photographer, and it cost me $100 a month for a small ad, and significantly more if it was bigger. And we all did it. Every photographer in our town did it, and did it happily. We never thought about it, because it's just what you did. So if I was spending $100 a month on a crappy Yellow Pages ad, why wouldn't I put at least that amount into Facebook advertising that gives me far better tools for reaching potential customers than the Yellow Pages could ever dream of? So yeah, I don't mind. I spend at least now $100 a month. It's kind of minimum on busy months, like leading up to Christmas and leading up to Valentine's Day. I'll probably go 150 or 200, and slower months I'll cut it back. So it probably averages out somewhere between 100 and 150. But again, I'm following these rules for targeting the appropriate audience. Now, I'm talking mostly about Facebook so far. And as I mentioned before, I don't really do Twitter at all. I've never understood why I would want to do Twitter. If you're Donald Trump, I suppose it makes perfect sense. But really, for me, and I just, it doesn't do it for me. Maybe other people have had different experiences. Instagram, to me, is the next one that makes some sense. The thing about Instagram, and you'll hear everybody say it, oh, it attracts a younger audience. Well, that immediately makes me think, okay, that's the audience I don't want, right? I don't want an 18 to 24 group, and certainly not younger than 18 for a boudoir studio. So, I put limited work into Instagram for that very reason, is it's the wrong audience. Facebook, for me, seems to be the one to hit our target. So Facebook ads, you notice how all these different ads at different times of years, different themes, all have, with the exception of the Boudoir mini sessions one, top row middle, all of them have limited text. The Boudoir mini sessions got rejected, as did this fall, Let Your Naughty Out, too much text. So I just reran the ad without putting all the text in it, and it was fine. They let it through. So you can do all sorts of different ad campaigns. Santa Baby, we just finished. We've done that two years in a row. We usually start in November with the Santa Baby campaign. This year would have been our second Christmas for this new business, and it was really solid. Really solid. November and December were really good months. And we've just started, being that this is still early January, of course, we've gone into our Valentines advertising and ramping up very, very nicely for a solid January, February, and March. Some people will miss the Valentine's deadline, and a lot of people don't care. They just decide to do it. They realize that they're ordering an album that's not going to make it on time, and they say, you know what, it's okay. The album comes when it comes. So we usually get 3 months of pretty solid work out of a Valentine's Day promotion. It will slow down. I find it slows down after that through the summer. You get dribs and drabs, and you keep on, hammering away at it. But by and large, those are seems to be the busy times of year for us anyways. But we're always expanding and trying to come up with new things. We've recently designed, although we haven't launched yet, we're going to launch this one immediately after the Valentine's promotion is over. So this will launch sometime in March or April, the Boudoir model call. I developed the ad, I said Miss January. It'll probably be Miss March or Ms. April by the time we get to it. So it's a contest that they pay for. The $250 is a print credit. So they're, in a way, they're kind of getting the shoot for free for entering the contest. Everybody wins. And for their $250, they're going to get $250 worth of product. So they're not just buying an entrance fee into a contest. Our game plan is for 2018 is to put together a calendar, the Sizzalicious calendar, and have actual customers who are featured every month. So getting engaged on Facebook. Many of you are probably already doing this, but let's assume you're not and refine or define what we mean by this. Getting likes is one thing. That's great. And this was hard for me to get into because by nature, I'm not a chatty person. I do these webinars, but one-on-one with people, I'm not really very chatty. And that's a detriment to getting engagement on Facebook. I had to teach myself and really force myself to do it. So remember, Facebook measures the interaction you have with people. The more interaction you have, the better Facebook likes it. And it understands that the two of you have more of an interest in each other than the average person. And the metric for this is called edge rank. So remember what Facebook has to do, and it's really challenging. You know, some people have 1,000 friends. So when they make a post on Facebook, who sees it? Because if we have 1,000 friends and they're all posting, my timeline is going to fly back and I'm not going to really see anything from anybody. So Facebook's got to prioritize things. So it assumes that the people that you engage with the most are more important to you than somebody you talk to once every blue moon. So their posts are likely to appear. So what we want to do is we want to engage in conversation with as many people as we can. Every time somebody likes our page, we don't just say, hey, great, we got another like. We engage with them, send them a message. We try and engage on the timeline as opposed to Facebook Messenger, which is why the selfie contests are so good. Because given that everybody is going to win a prize of some sort, even if it's only a headshot or a family portrait, it gives me an opportunity to respond to their entry on my timeline, on the contest timeline. And I say, well, you didn't win the big prize, but congratulations, look what you've got. And I, started a conversation, because more times than not, they'll ask a question about their prize, or they'll at least say thank you, and we're starting to build that engagement. And your goal, of course, is to try and find ways that you can stay engaged. I try and position things to require an answer, or to at least encourage an answer, that they don't just say, oh, great, I got a certificate, thanks. That, you ask them some question that hopefully they'll reply to and build that engagement. So yeah, go out of your way to engage with people right on your page rather than in, I just realized that's a typo, than in private messages. Post images from recent shoots. If they're customers, we never, ever post a customer image without their explicit permission. And that comes up in our sales cycle all the time for obvious reasons. Boudoir is a personal thing, and some people just don't want to show it off. And we give them that comfort. We don't break our rules ever. So we sometimes work with models, because I'm in a lucky position with Photography Schoolhouse, is that we do a lot of ditto cams and live broadcasts. So I've got models coming in from that, and of course I get a model release. The downside of that is you see all the people who are models and like their work showing off are usually, the ones who are in pretty darn good shape. And our typical boudoir customer isn't really in that kind of shape on average. So you show them a bunch of pictures of a lot of slim hotties, and kind of backfires on it a little bit. So when we get a plus size customer to agree to let us post images, then that's a real bonus. Guest 561 says, how do you pick the winner? They do, because they have to get likes. So I remember the part where I said they go out and invite all their friends to come to our page and like their picture. So they have to come into our Sizzle Photography Facebook page. They have to find the picture and they have to click on like, and the one with the most likes wins the big prize. So again, it's not just about finding a way of picking a winner. It's finding a way of bringing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people into your site. And a good percentage of those will like you. And then you refine the ones who liked you that you don't like, and so on. So you see how it all kind of comes together. If you can get permission from real sessions too, the other significant thing is you post their image and you tag them. And then all their friends see the tag and come to your site. So it's another good way of building traffic to your page. So email. Moving on from Facebook and social marketing, email. I do email, not maybe as much as you'd think, to my customers. I don't want to overdo it. I get emails from people sometimes so often I just want to throw up or gag, and I cut them off. So I don't want to overdo it. And it's kind of, I'm pausing a little bit because I don't have a slide for this, so I just got to kind of tell you. I'm really going with the whole idea of personal contact, one-on-one contact, even through email or through social marketing or on the phone. You know, we very rarely talk to people in this day and age. Almost everything we get from customers are text messages or Facebook Messenger messages. So rather than have a bulk email that goes out to everybody and it says exactly the same thing, it's a lot more work, a ton more work, to create a dialogue with each person individually. But just in the same way that we're trying to create engagement on Facebook, we're trying to create, I'm taking that logic and trying to apply it to my life, basically. So I'm getting away from a lot of automated things, and it's a ton of work. But if you can provide people with information that they need without your handout, without saying, here, you know, download my guide of the 50 best things you can do to blah, 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 and it's only $9.95 or $19.95, rather than that kind of thing, give them information for free. Be their go-to guy when it comes to boudoir photography, or go-to gal. They get to know you. They know when your name is said, they say, yeah, that's the boudoir photographer. One of these days, I'm going to have a boudoir shoot. So, yeah, I still use email, but not as much as I might have done a few years ago. I'm more into finding ways of developing friendships. Think of it that way. I'm trying to make a friend out of every single person who will buy a boudoir session from me. And you can apply that rule to weddings, to babies, to whatever. Be their go-to person. Have all sorts of free information and advice. And don't worry about charging for things. You're charging for sessions, not for information. That being said, you have to think about the other thing, which is you're building a cloud of potential customers. You know, sometimes photographers, myself included, we get very disillusioned with things. We get into, oh, I took out this ad and I only got 2 calls or 3 calls or bookings or whatever. And man, they didn't buy very much, and this industry sucks, and Facebook sucks, and everything sucks. And you get into that kind of mentality, and you can't. Every time I run an ad, and I've seen this materialize because I've tracked things so carefully for the past 2 years, people may inquire. I ran an ad, let's say I ran an ad a year ago, and they inquired at the time. They were kind of toying with the idea of having a boudoir, but the timing wasn't right, and they didn't book. But a year's gone by, and now the timing is right. So what we're doing every single time we advertise, we don't just get results of people that book right away. We're building a cloud of potential customers that might not book for a few months or a year or 3 years. If you give up, which is what most people do, they give up, you're screwed. You just popped a bubble in your cloud and it evaporated. Longevity is an important part of being a photographer, a successful photographer. You can't be another fly-by-night. God knows we have enough people that show up, they're suddenly photographers, and 2 months later, they're gone. Your cloud will pay off in time, and you can't stop advertising. I don't stop advertising just because we had a soft month. It's consistent, and it's all the time. And my cloud has already started to deliver. Just an inquiry in the last few days from somebody who's been talking about a boudoir session for the last year and a half. She still hasn't booked. I sent her what I hope she took as a humorous email. session, and her name was Donna. I said, God, Donna, just pull the trigger, get this done. I hope she took it in the right spirit. I wasn't really trying to be nasty, but you know what I mean. And that's kind of, I want to develop that kind of relationship with people that I can talk to them like that. It's not, hey, I'm Mr. Allen of the Sizzle Corporation. I just want that comfort as if you're talking to a buddy from college or school. And so at any rate, yeah, building your cloud. So your social marketing is part of that cloud. Your email is part of the cloud. Just about going to trade shows is part of that cloud. Everything reinforces. In fact, I used to have a philosophy, which I'm kind of getting back to. I let it go for a while in marketing, which I called the 5x5 philosophy. People have to see you in 5 different ways, 5 different times. So back in the days when I was big time into weddings, I had booths at wedding shows. I took out the inside front cover of a local bridal magazine. I had a website. I had this, I had that. I was kind of before the days of Facebook and social marketing back then. But I had these multiple avenues of exposure. And so I had 5 avenues of exposure. They got to see me 5 times before they wake up and realize that I'm a wedding photographer and they might do business with me. So that's why email, trade shows, social marketing, whatever, get it all out there. It reinforces itself. When they see that you're everywhere, it's sort of like, oh, geez, Sizzle Photography, they're like the only boudoir photographer in town. I see them everywhere. So I kind of talked about Instagram. Instagram would be the next social media that I think is worthwhile. But again, kind of the hesitation of it may or may not be bringing the right kind of people. So the other thing that we can do in developing our likes and developing our cloud is to create a lead magnet. Now, a lead magnet is just something that motivates them to engage with you. So it can be a valuable free giveaway that's given in exchange for contact information. You see this all the time. I'm sure you've done this 100 times on Facebook. Somebody's going to give you the top 5 ways of changing a tire. And you click on it and it takes you to a landing page and you got to fill out your name and email, and then they're going to email you the top 5 ways, and they do. But in the meantime, they got your name and now you're on their email list. And that's, kind of how it's done, although I'm sick to death of it, but that's how it's done. So I don't really make them jump through those hoops. I offer freebies that they can just go and get, period. What do I get out of it? Well, they can't download it. They go to my site and read it as a blog post. So I have valuable free information that I promote. I make it good, so it's something, because if I'm advertising to the right people, I know what to offer them, so that it's good, that they really want that information. And again, it positions me as the authority. Well, go to Carrie, and Carrie knows this stuff inside out, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter if I do or I don't. They think I do. As part of it is finding the right people to attract, and then discover or to decide what problem are we solving for them? What was their motivation? They have an issue, or they have a concern, or they have a problem, and they're not quite sure what they should do about it. What is that problem that we can solve or give them advice on? So people who goes for a lead magnet, people that want information or to get questions and insecurities addressed. People that are all ready to buy, they just need motivation. They need a reason to buy for you. They're going to buy a boudoir session, but they've got a dozen photographers they can choose from. I got to give them a reason to say yes to me. So it was pretty easy to come up with what my concerns are, particularly in boudoir. You could probably guess without even knowing. I need to lose weight. Oh, I'll do it when I lose 10 pounds. I had a dime for every time I heard that. Or I'm not photographic, I'm not pretty enough, or I don't have a boyfriend, to do it for, or whatever. These seem to be the points that are on their minds. These are the reasons, and I hesitate not saying excuses. These are the reasons they don't go ahead with the boudoir session. So what if I could address those and convince them that they are pretty enough, that their weight is just fine, that they're more beautiful than they think. They are photogenic. They've just never had a photographer. They've had family pictures and cell phone pictures and selfies, but they've never had a photographer. So I'm going to deploy my lead magnet. I'm going to solve a problem for them or answer a question for them. I'm going to create a Facebook ad targeting the best audience I have, my warm audience. Not, if you're brand new, it's got to be cold, but my likes and friends of people that like my page. Have a response mechanism for them to sign up with. In my case, you could have a landing page and a form to fill out. Yeah, you could do that. But I just actually put a link to my blog post. If you are going to email them something, set it up as an autoresponder so they don't have to wait. You're busy in a session, then you went to dinner, then you went to a movie, and they submitted their form, and 10 minutes later they were angry because they didn't get an answer yet. So you can't afford to do it manually. You have to set up an autoresponder. Add the contact information to your email program, MailChimp, Constant Contact, whatever you're using. There's a dozen of them. And cycle those email leads back into your Facebook ad campaign. So here's a sample of a lead magnet that has worked over and over and over again for me. That picture, which is a stock picture, I just bought it from an agency. And I did a blog post, how to get ready for your boudoir session. And I put it on my Facebook page, put an ad on my Facebook page. I targeted my warm audience. And it was hugely popular. The click-throughs to my website were through the roof. And I've used this. I don't do it every month, but every 3 or 4 months, I'll put it out there again, and it works all over again. So I've done this one, has been very popular, but it's not limited strictly to this. Here's some other blog posts, so you can get, there's the how to get ready for the boudoir shoot one, but other lead magnets were, why do plus size women look so hot? New nightclub set, this week only. 15 things you need to know before taking your boudoir pictures. A little shy about doing your boudoir session? How can I hide my problem areas in my boudoir photos? Addressing their concerns and their insecurities, each and every one of them. These are my lead magnets. Copy them if you want, that's fine. You're not in my area. You're not going to hurt me. Maybe change the wording a little bit because Google hates repetitive wording on multiple sites. But aside from that, you can see how I researched the problem areas, and I'm putting out lead magnets that offer solutions to them, positioning me as the guru. Another thing we did, another contest lead magnet. I tried to find a right hashtag that would work on Facebook and Instagram. The only one I could get that was universal was Be Your Best Supermodel, which I wasn't really fond of, but it's what I could get at that time. So we held this contest, Be the Best Supermodel. So people inquire. They might not book, but I try and be as responsive as I can. And probably, if I were generalizing, 70% of my leads come in by text message. 25% come in by email, and 5% maybe call me. And it's probably less than 5%. So if you're not good on text messaging and email, get good. My price list, which I guess I will show you. I have that ready as a PDF. I can send it to them immediately. I try and keep in touch with them. Remember, I'm trying to make a friend. I'm trying to be friendly. So I try and keep in touch with them. I say, here, use your webcam to record a short personal video just for them. Find an excuse to make a video about something. Say a little video just done on your webcam that says, hey, we were talking about wardrobe for stretch marks, and I happened to come on these photos. I just thought I'd show you a couple. Again, you got to have permissions, even on a personal thing like that. But you could do like a short 45-second video and send it to them. Who else does that? Your website filled with wonderful samples, and time limit the offer to give it a sense of urgency. But land the sale. You got to be that friendly voice on the phone. If you're not, take a lesson, go to Toastmasters, whatever you got to do. I'd say hire somebody, but really that's just more money out of our pocket, and I don't like spending money. So get good at whatever you're limited at. Recognize what your failings are and get good at them. So land the sale. Go after it. Don't wait for people to come and plop it in their lap. Some will. Some will just, hey, I'm buying. Here's my money. But more so than not, you've got to work a little bit harder. Your website, needless to say, as responsive as you can possibly make it. And by responsive, I'm talking technically, not just human contact. I'm talking about responsive in terms of it works on cell phones, it works on tablets, it works on desktop. Responsive design, it's a term in the industry, just extremely important, to the point where now Google will not rank. If you don't have a responsive website, you get pushed down in the rankings. Make it as wordy as you can make it. Here's what I see on websites. I see websites for photographers all the time, and it drives me nuts. We talk about SEO, search engine optimization. And just to go off on a tangent, I know I'm running a little bit long, but this is worthwhile, I think. SEO is king. Getting people to find you is the biggest tool in marketing. And yes, Google search does work, by the way. If you're thinking that, oh, I don't bother with Google search because it doesn't work for me anyways, it's only because you've screwed up and you're doing it wrong. So I see these websites for photographers all the time that don't even mention where they are. I search every single page, even their contact us or their about page, and it's like they've gone out of their way to hide where they are, which is just nuts to me. I've never understood it. And, you know, number one, you want to attract people in your area. I don't want to, if somebody was buying a boudoir session and they found my site and they phoned me up and said, hey, I want a book, I'm in Sacramento. Well, I'm not. So why wouldn't you tell them where you are? Besides which, if somebody goes in and puts Sacramento boudoir photographer as their Google search, and your site doesn't have the word Sacramento in it, you think you're going to place? I would tell my city name or my area or my county or whatever as many times as I possibly could. It would be everywhere. And so I'm getting off on a tangent. We're actually doing a whole thing on SEO for photographers' websites coming up. I'm not sure if it's February, it might be March, because we got a lot coming up in the next few weeks. So yeah, frequent blog posting, as wordy as you can make it, keyword optimized, SEO optimized, and you'll start getting customers from Google, guaranteed. So that's marketing. That's how we took our test company and built it up. It's not just a test company anymore. It's now a full-fledged company. Here's some things. Photography Schoolhouse, 2017, the year of progress. Last year was the year of creativity. This year is the year of progress. A series of 25 photography projects to drive clients to your business. So it's kind of marketing related. It all starts on January 31st. You'll hear more about that coming up. Some specials for you tonight. If you want to grab them, Our very well-known and popular studio workbook. This is 60 pages of lighting in the studio, lighting diagrams, over 3 dozen lighting diagrams, detailed equipment discussions, much, much more. We have in the past sold that for $97.77. You can get it for $27.77. Go to www.pshsale.com. It says 2 different things. Huh. Okay, well, either pshsale.com or pshnow.com. We came up with all of these clever shortcuts so you wouldn't have to type photography schoolhouse all the time. The other one was Boudoir Posing an Idea Guide. 150 poses and ideas, complete PDF file, includes 4x6 printable images, DPI field cards we call them, or 300 DPI field cards we call them. Smartphone images, so you can put a posing guide right on your phone and look at it in a session without the customer knowing, was $47.77. It also is $27.77. That's PSH sale. The other one was PSH now. So a couple of specials for you. Gold membership, we're throwing in the kitchen sink. Tonight only, well, get the gold, a year gold membership, the studio lighting book, How I Book 17 Weddings, 9 ways photographers can use to improve their website conversions, and the PSH Boudoir Posing an Idea Guide, no extra charge, just with an annual gold membership. Go to pshgold.com. Could you guess, could you see that one coming? So PSH Gold is the Photography Schoolhouse Gold membership with tons of freebies. PSH Now is the studio lighting book. PSH Sale is the Boudoir Posing Guide. I'm not going to, I hate selling, so I'm not going to bend your ear anymore about that. Next broadcast in the webinar series is January 17, 2017 at 7. Wrong, sorry. January 17th, 7 p.m. is a live broadcast from the studio. The next part 3 of the webinar series is January the 19th at 9 p.m. So live broadcast the 17th at 7. Part 3 of this series, the 19th at 9, all Eastern time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. There's a link on this same page that you went to part 1. If you didn't see part 1, you can still watch it for free. This recording will be available too. It usually takes us a day or so to turn that around. And we'll hopefully see you again next week for part 3. If you have any questions, now's the time. Throw them in the chat window. Other than that, it's late. I'm on the East Coast. I'm going to go grab a coffee and call it good. So I'll just hang around for a few seconds. But thank you so much for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye, y'all.